Oh, I think Poroshenko has every reason in the world to be happy with the outcome. The pro-Western parties did very well. The communists did not even get into the parliament, and the extreme nationalists did poorly. So it's a very strong mandate for his policy of closing up with the West. Well, that's a totally different issue. The election was the easy part. Now comes the hard part. The Ukrainian government that is being formed now will have to implement very, very tough reforms that will be very painful for the population. And it will have to deal with the fact that has been a fact all along, that it is very dependent on Russian trade, Russian credits, and above all, Russian gas. So this is where it starts getting tough. Well, the Donbas region is sort of in a pickle right now because there has been no voting in the Donbas in the Ukrainian election. The so-called People's Republics of Donetsk and Luhansk will have their own election on Sunday, whatever outcome that will be, if any Ukrainians at all take part. The important part is that Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has said that Russia will respect both elections. They will respect the election that was held in Ukraine, in Kiev, and they will respect the election that is held in the breakaway republics in Donetsk and Luhansk. And this indicates that Russia is still not decided on what to do with these people that are sort of inside Ukraine but claim they want independence. So this is where it starts getting tough for the Russians. Okay, this is not going to be easy for Putin. It seemed like everything was going very well during the first few months of the crisis. Now it is becoming difficult for him to talk about a fascist junta in Kiev because the nationalist parties have done very poorly. He is in a pickle when it comes to how to handle the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics that demand freedom. I mean, they demand independence, not autonomy. And his discussion with Kiev is about some sort of devolution of power of autonomy. And he has a big problem at home because of all the nationalist fervor he has whipped up over New Russia, Crimea, and all of that. And simply abandoning these people in the Donbass will produce a backlash at home. So I think, on the one hand, politically, it's getting very, very difficult. Waiting now for Ukraine to collapse under the socio-economic weight of the troubles that Ukraine has. And then you can say, well, look, this is what I said all along. Ukraine is not a state. It is not viable. So now we need to talk. But it's a very split issue for Putin, and we'll have to see how he plays it out. The political outlook is much more positive today than it was before the election because the country is much more united. There is not a big problem with the communists in the parliament, nor with the extreme nationalists. So it looks better to the outside world, which is important, and it will be easier for Poroshenko to start pushing through the vital reforms that he now has to start with. But it does very little to remove the ongoing disaster of the Ukrainian economic and social development that they will now have to face. And also with indebtedness. There will come a day when somebody will have to inform the Ukrainians that the difference between gifts and credits is not merely semantic. The credits will have to be repaid out of resources that Ukraine will have to create. And that is not going to be easy. So politically much better, but economically still very troubled.